Hey guys, this is Batch with Aesir Strategic. Today we're going to be talking about the Redline Airsoft stock. This is a new product that's come out with, of course, by Redline Airsoft for Polar Star users or the new Wolverine SMP. I would imagine this could be modified to use with it as well. If you guys want to get away from the the lines and stuff that come with obviously using your Polar Stars, here's the next option for you. This runs $250 on a lot of your larger retail websites. Evike, I've seen it on there. Don't know if I've seen it on Airsoft GI yet. Definitely on Amped Airsoft. Those guys carry a lot of Polar Star stuff. Real knowledgeable crew down there, and always willing to answer your questions for you. Now moving on, this here is of course your main assembly. You're going to see obviously your gauges here. Right inside here, you guys are going to see the regulator. You stick an Allen tool in there. You can turn up the PSI or lower it down. This part here, of course, is a stock plate for slings and things like that you would attach to. Obviously the lines that would go into the fusion, engine, right there. They even send another tube that would, of course, goes on the top, right here. Now these tubes, of course, this is just your standard paintball tubes. You guys can get this stuff, just about anywhere online. It's just a pressure tube. It's not that big of a deal to find it, but again, easy to find, online. If you do end up miscutting this stuff, you can replace that fairly easily. Here, you guys are going to find your ASA unit. This is where the tank actually, screws in to, the gun. And again, this right here, you guys are going to kind of notice the castle nut here. That's that goes onto the buffer tube. Here, you guys are going to get the 90-degree elbow. Now, this is for the Gen 3, versions of the Fusion engines. If you have a Gen 2 or, of course, earlier, you're going to need, obviously the bottom plate adapter that goes with this. Along with that comes, some screws and stuff like that, obviously, to mount this, stock to, of course, your lower of your choosing. Now, for video purposes, we're going to be using this Magpul. One thing I like about these lowers, these are manufactured by GMP. You guys are going to see this little deal right here, this nipple coming off where the the buffer tube assembly is. That's pretty important when it comes to this thing. It's built in, it's solid. Some lowers, I guess, could be modified, modified to work, but they actually thread into the lowers. But this one here is it's already built in, it's solid, and of course a nice opening on the rear that you guys are going to see here. That'll save you from having to do any filing or any heavy modification either, or later on. Makes it real good, easy install for you. So basically what we're going to do, we're going to take this unit here. One of your first steps is going to be to mark this out. Now what we've got to do here is we want this butt plate pressed all the way up against this lower, or this sling plate, so that we can go in. Now, you guys may not be able to see all this, because again I'm going to use a black marker. I'll be able to see this fairly easy, but we're going to go in, we're going to mark right along the edge of this all the way around it with maybe a Sharpie or a marker you're choosing, whatever you want to do, so that what we're trying to accomplish is a reference point, because we're going to have to cut this tube off. So we want to cut right below this line that we're making here. Now there's several different ways that you guys can cut this. You can cut it with a Dremel tool, which is what I'm going to be using here. You can cut it with obviously a hacksaw. If you got a full-blown shop, obviously you guys know what you can and can't cut it with, but this is just obviously, some of these things are aluminum, some of them are cast, so it's just again, some of them may be pot metal, but the Dremel I found works good for me. It's versatile, and definitely an easy way to do this. Now what I'd recommend is you guys can kind of see that line maybe a little bit right there. And what we're going to try to accomplish is, obviously you want to have something that's going to hold this steady. You sitting there with the Dremel trying to hold this thing steady is not going to work. You need to get like maybe a bench, you know, a vise, or even a clamp. You could clamp this lower down onto a table and it'll hold it steady for you. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to start to cut this lower off and kind of give you guys an idea on how, you know, that's going to go for you. Okay guys, what you're going to see here, you can see I've got the lower in a, you know, just a vise. Again, this, you can get these things just about anywhere, Lowe's, Walmart, you know, whatever your local retailer is around there carries any kind of hardware stuff. Now, again, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking our Dremel and we're going to be cutting that. You can kind of see that little line right there. We're going to cut to the inside. When I say inside, that means towards the receiver, because we want to have just a little bit of a recess so that this this part of this stock, again, let's try to point this out to you guys, so that we're cutting right inside here, inside that line, so that this actually is a little bit recessed inside this stock plate here. That's going to give you guys a little bit of extra room that you're going to need when we're attaching the ASA, and of course the bolts and everything that goes in with that. So again, we're going to go ahead and start cutting this down. Here you guys are going to see I want to use just this little Dremel rotary tool here. Spin this around maybe where you guys can see it. But again, this is just a cutting wheel on the Dremel tool. You know, it doesn't take a whole lot to do this. This stuff isn't like any severely heavy duty stuff, but just be sure to take your time. You know, I'm going to run this probably about, you know, 20,000 RPMs, just because I don't want it to get, you know, way, you know, too crazy and get out of control. So, you know, maybe no more than, you know, 25 definitely. But you want to take your time with it, because you can always take more off, but you can't add more back to it. Alright, now you guys are going to kind of see a little bit here. Right there is what she should look like whenever you're done. You guys are going to kind of notice about the length of that selector plate now, or the, excuse me, the thickness. Nice and clean cut. You know, probably could be better for you machinists out there, but you know, for a tabletop job, not too bad, not real bad. So again, let you guys see a side view of it. So we'll come right back and we'll show you the. Alright guys, now that we've cut the, you know, obviously the end off of our lower here, should be roughly, I guess it's about 3/16 of an inch that should be left here. Now it's going to be difficult for you to go and cut that, of course, perfectly your first time. So, you know, feel free, you know, obviously, you know, get a hand, you know, grinder, or you can use that Dremel if you got like a little grinding wheel like the one I've got here. And you want that butt plate to be recessed behind this, you know, this sling plate just a little bit, because what we don't want is we don't want any pressure on the on our lower here at all. So we don't want to be tightening anything up so that puts any kind of pressure on this, at least on this side of it. We want all that pressure right here on this lip, not up here. So you guys are going to see when I put that together, hold that up for a set, you can kind of see where it's a little bit of a recess. So that's exactly what you want. Now, when you're looking down inside these holes here, you guys are going to notice that you know, nice little openings there. There's nothing in behind it. Kind of see my finger down there. Give you guys a good reference point. So there's nothing, you know, obstructing those holes, because we need those to run our airlines through. So just make sure that that's not obstructed. You may have to take a file, a hand file, or if you have a file on the Dremel tool, you know, they make specific, you know, files for those, to where you go in there and round out those holes. Just clean that up a little bit. Don't get crazy. You can't add it back, but you can take a little bit at a time. And just take your time, don't get in a hurry, and you'll be able to install this thing pretty easily. I think it's one of the easiest installs that you'll probably do if you've got the proper tools to do it. You can rough it though and do it with hand tools. It just makes it a little bit easier if you got a Dremel. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this Airstock and we're going to attach this to our lower. Now what we want to do here get that slid in there. Now we're going to go in from the inside. When I say inside, I mean inside the lower. We're going to use the black nut that comes with the purchase. It's this little bitty dude right here. Now this is for the non-VFC installs. The VFC installs, you're going to use a separate little pack of their 2 silver screws, and it even has a kind of little washer you guys are going to see right here that goes with that. That's for the VFC install. You don't need that unless you got a VFC lower. So we're going to set that stuff to the side. Now I'm going to take this screw right here. I'm going to push that through my little hole. Kind of difficult to do while showing you guys this. So I'm trying to use the camera. Alright, so we got that dude in there. Now what I want to do now, and I'm just going to check and see if that, no, it doesn't fit. That's like a little sleeve that fits under there, or fits it, you know, on top of that screw, but kind of find out we're not going to use it. We're going to take our ASA unit. Alright, now this is going to screw, this little screw that we put in there, it's going to screw right in the back of this. You guys can see that. Now you see that hole right there, the one on top, that needs to go down. So that elbow is going to be down, down towards the lower. So we're going to turn this sideways where I can see it. I'm going to hold that right up there to it. I'm just going to get this started with my fingers here. Make sure that we're not cross-threading anything, because you guys are not going to get a second chance if you cross-thread it. So do it with your fingers. Get in there finger snug. Get that guy up against there. Now this enables me to go ahead and get that finger snug, and now I'm going to look down the side here. I'm trying to, you see where that hole's lined up? We want to make sure that hole is lined up with the bottom of that, because we got another screw that's going to go in there. That's going to be our little guy right here. So take our Allen. Now you're not going to be able to get to that with your hand. This is nothing more than a kind of a placement set screw. It just keeps the stock from doing circles. So get our pin out of the way here. Try to do this while showing you guys so you can kind of see. We're going to take that. Oh, wrong hole. So we're going to take this, push it right down in there. You have to wiggle a little bit. You can do it from the front side. Just kind of wiggle it around until you get your screw started. Or your nut, whatever you're going to call it. Alright, so you're going to take that little nut, you see where it's right straight down there, and we're just going to start tightening that up. May be kind of difficult if you got a hex screw or like an Allen wrench that you're using this on, just because of the fact that you don't want to scratch up your lower when you're doing all this. Just get that guy nice and snug. Now you guys out there, if you want, you know, you could probably use some of that blue Loctite. Don't use the red stuff. It's like never comes undone. And don't tighten it up too much, because again, this is, you know, for the most part, you know, this stuff is aluminum with the exception of your stock plate. You definitely don't want to strip those threads. We're going to go ahead and tighten this guy up now. Actually, it takes a different size. I'm not sure why they did that, but we'll find it. Start tightening that guy down, and make sure that you're keeping it straight, because you want the elbow directly down. You don't want it cockeyed to the side, because that'll mess with your alignment of your hoses and all that stuff. So just keep an eye on it. Make sure that it's not getting, you know, buggered up on you. You need to, you know, stick your fingers down there, keep it from getting up to the side. Again, probably a good place to use that blue Loctite. And don't be using this side, guys, and going crazy with it, because again, you don't want to strip it out. So it's a good little solid, you know, solid set now. And it's basically, this is what it's going to look like whenever you get this thing you know, installed, you know, onto your loader. Now, what we're going to do next is that we're going to take our Fusion engine and drop it down in there. We're going to show you guys how to do all that, so that, you know, when you get this thing, you should have a pretty easy install on it, and, you know, be up, running, ready to go. Ready to go slay some faces with your hoseless Polar Star. So you can still keep that real, you know, steel aspect and get away from the feeder lines, so to speak, or paintball lines. So not knocking you paintball guys out there, but hey, you know, it is what it is. Now you guys of course can see here, this, we're just going to trim that off, fit that right inside, you know, this little nipple right there. Make sure it's not too short. You almost want to have it bowed just a little bit, but you can kind of, again, you can mark it with a pin, whatever. Just take you some, you know, wire snips, or, you know, scissors or whatever, cut it off, you know, probably a good quarter, you know, inch. You want that hose to go almost all the way to the back side of that fitting, so don't cut it shorter than the back side of that fitting. It needs to go all the way back. These are pressure couplings, so once you put it in there, it should sit or set up, but just don't undercut it, because then that thing will leak and you'll end up having to buy a new hose, which is not that big of a deal, but just inconvenience. So, alright guys, next we're going to be installing that Fusion engine for you. Line kit installed. We want to go ahead and get our Fusion engine out. Now, obviously, being a M4, we're going to be dealing with the version 2 Fusion engine. This is the Gen 3 version of it. Easy way to tell if you've got a Gen 3 is the engraved Polar Star here. I haven't seen that on a Gen 2 or Gen 1 engine. So now with your purchase, you're obviously going to get, you know, the engine, the FCU. I did some advertisement stuff here. A Polar Star, you know, obviously you know, manual. I'd recommend you guys read that, because that's a heck of an investment for one of these things. You don't want to be, you know, messing it up. So just kind of setting this stuff to the side. While we're doing this, there's a few upgrades that I decided to go ahead and purchase. I do a lot of outdoor play, mostly 400 FPS tops usually is what I'm running as a rifleman. So we got the red nozzle and of course the golden poppet, you know, valve from Amped Airsoft. With this combination here, we should be able to run quite a bit of significantly lower FPS, or excuse me, pressure, to achieve the same FPS that we're looking for, which is again pushing right at that 400 mark. So give us the best efficiency that we can get. You know, thanks to those guys at Amped Airsoft for, you know, coming out with this stuff. Also, we're going to be installing a speed trigger here. These triggers, from everything that I see, they require a little bit of modification, but hopefully not too much. I'll modify this $25 trigger before I start grinding on this Polar Star engine I've got. So we're going to show you guys how to install this as well. Setting all this stuff aside, I'm going to grab our engine here. Now, you guys are going to see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws that you guys are going to take out. And the reason I'm going to take all these screws out is because I want to be able to get in here and actually do anything. Also, we're going to go ahead and pull this poppet valve out and the nozzle all at the same time. So we're going to go ahead and skip forward. I'm going to take all this stuff apart, and then you guys can we'll pick up from there. Alright guys, after you've taken your engine apart, removed the screw from the back, taken all the screws out from the front, disconnected the hoses from the cylinder up here. Again, just a flathead screwdriver, and there's 1 Allen screw here. And then this whole thing should come apart. Obviously your FCU, unplug that, kind of get that out of the way, set your trigger to the side. And what you're going to do, we need to remove this here. Now, when you're pulling this lower off, be very careful not to crimp this hose or bend it anywhere close to this. If you have to bend it down here. That way, of course, you don't end up compromising the integrity of this air seal here, and because this is just plastic that can bend, and your air seal you're going to leak. So you don't want to end up having to delay your fun by just replacing, this little nipple that goes up inside here, or that retention piece. So take your fingernail or a screwdriver or flathead and just push it up against this edge here, and it may take a little bit. Don't get crazy with it. It's kind of finicky, but push that up against there, and then wiggle this out. Try to get it where you guys can see it, and then that piece should come right out. Now again, not really going to need this. You just kind of set that aside. So now you got your fusion engine, and it's basically all took apart. So what we want to do now is, with your Redline kit came this 90-degree elbow. Alright, so what we want to do now is take that, shove that all the way up inside here. So we got a good seal. I felt it, kind of 2 little snaps there, and just test it. Yeah, that feels really nice. So now we got the line that we need exiting out the rear of it. Now your FCU wire, this here, for you guys who want to try to hide this stuff in your grip, you may want to look at possibly ordering a shorter one. I think Amped Airsoft carries those, so it's not quite as much wire. Now or you can get creative and solder it yourself if you're good with that kind of thing. But it looks like the Polar Stars glued the ends on these here. So when you're soldering this, you're literally going to have to either get in there and break up that super glue, but just keep that in mind. It's not going to be an easy job. I would recommend, honestly, just going ahead and ordering, maybe a shorter version of this FCU wire from Amped Airsoft. They seem to have everything you need for these Polar Star Redline kits. So just something to keep in mind there. Now, I've already taken the liberty of installing, you guys notice the red poppet valve here, or excuse me, the red nozzle, and then the gold poppet valve actually inside here. Again, a lot of videos on Amped Airsoft that you guys can go in and watch that, but just kind of skipping forward here for you guys that don't have those upgrades, then this is what you need to know only. So basically, we're going to take this, we're going to put these wires and everything, obviously keep everything back the way it was, and we can go ahead obviously and screw this stuff back in. It's not going to hurt anything. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm just going to just kind of go, and you can kind of watch and install, and we'll kind of fast forward this a little bit for you viewers out there, so you're not sitting here all day watching this. Okay guys, now that you got it all reassembled, you got your 90-degree in, you got your line coming out, you took your FCU, ran it through the bottom. This is what what it should look like. Again, this is set up for the Redline kit. So now what we're going to do is just stick the plate back on it, and we should be good to go, and we'll install it in our gun. Alright guys, now that we got our Polar Star engine back together, You know what we want to do now is drill the relief in the back of the Polar Star engine. It's not really a hole as much as it is a small relief. It's a 1/2 inch drill bit that you want to use to do this. Now I've already done this one here. It's pretty easy. The bit, there's already a hole there obviously for the threads, so the bit will sit right down inside that. Again, use a 1/2 inch because just as soon as it starts to hit the tapered edge of that bit, and basically the outside of it, you want to stop. So once you get that done, you're going to notice there's going to be a little bit of I guess thread, or I guess, you know, kind of maybe shards of metal inside here. Take just a small screw head, you know, or a flat head screwdriver, and just kind of, you know, go in there and just kind of twist that around a little bit. Don't get crazy, mess up your threads. Just do it real easy. Maybe even a wire brush if you got that. That would even be better because that's less likelihood of you messing something up. But again, go ahead and clean that out, and once that's done, you know, we're ready to put this dude inside our lower. In there, because you may have to flick your, you know, trigger around to get that dude to sit down in there. So. Alright guys, that is a perfect fit. So now, all you do is just go in there, take your line right here, measure that. I'm going to pull it up top so we can get to it. But it's literally just a shade, not much longer than what it should be. Again, you want to make sure it goes all the way to the back side of that. So I'm going to take off maybe not even a 1/4 inch off that, just so I got a nice straight fit back there. And we'll just stick our lower back together, and this dude is installed. And this is what your lower looks like assembled, guys. I just took that wire. I didn't cut it or anything like that. It actually all fit inside a Magpul MOE grip. I did take and cut off all the excess, I say plastic and stuff on top, and even took and cut the brass screw or bolt that's inside there down flush too. So just the bare minimum to what I needed to have, you know, just to be able to have that lower on there. So anyways, everything's nice and snug in there. You know, the wires, I try to, you want to try to keep from crimping that stuff up. But anyways, right there she is, guys. That is your Redline kit install. Thanks for watching, guys. Bash out.